Hey, it's United in Green. We're back for another season. This is going to be really our third episode, but we have our preseason podcast going on right now. A couple of days before the opener of the USL 2 season. Tonight, I have Jack Main from NBC5 here in Burlington. We have Sam Minton. He is a writer extraordinaire for the Blazing Musket, and he is going to be joining us on the podcast as a regular this season, which is pretty awesome to have. And we have, as always, our returning champion, the man with the beard, the sweaty man, as he's calling himself these days, Tyson. Tyson, what's going on, man? How you been?
Dude, it's hot. It's muggy. I'm really sweaty. It's like 88 degrees outside here in Essex, and I was not prepared. I'm up in our second bedroom slash office at the house, and I do not have an AC or a fan ready and available. But I shall struggle through to talk about our beloved Vermont Green.
Excellent. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be this hot, and I walked out of work today. Obviously, like Tyson and I both work in the medical field, so like it was in our offices, in our buildings. It's always like cold. I work in the operating room, so it's like 67 degrees in there all the time. And I walked out, and like it felt like midsummer. I just got back from New Orleans, and it was hotter. I felt like it was hotter today than it was in New Orleans that last week when I was there. So that tells you something about this time of year. You're in Vermont. The weather's so unpredictable. Speaking of Vermont, we're gonna keep it right in Vermont here. Jack, how you doing, man?
Great. I'm happy that this is the year that this is going to happen and be released, and I can be a part of this podcast's history, which I am very stoked about.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we did a super pod with WCAX and WPTZ last year. Tyson and I. It was a great podcast. It was a preseason preview, and it was probably one of the best podcasts I've ever done. And I've been doing podcasts for like 5 years now, and we lost the audio, not Jack's audio, but the other Jack's audio, and it was an absolute failure. I tried to save it, and it didn't work. But them's the breaks that happen sometimes in this world. Luckily, Riverside has itself worked out now, and it's an amazing platform. I really love it. So we're gonna move on. Sam here. Sam works for the Blazing Musket. He's gonna introduce himself. He's gonna give you a little background on what he does with the Blazing Musket. And as everybody knows who listens to this podcast regularly, we partnered with the Blazing Musket last year. Um, and they're a great group of guys, great website. They provide a lot of great content, and we'll plug them a couple of times throughout the show probably. But Sam, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. It is also quite hot down here in Massachusetts. But yeah, my name's Sam Minton. I'm the site manager of the Blazing Musket. We don't really have titles there, but that's what I call myself, I guess. I've been covering Vermont Green ever since their first season. Myself and Dolan, our photographer for the Blazing Musket, we've been making the 3 hour 46 minute trek one way to Vermont to cover the club, and it's so good that we've continued to do so. But yeah, I've been covering them from the start. Also, you'll probably see me covering the New England Revolution. But yeah, Blaze Musket, we after SB Nation decided to essentially defund all their MLS websites. We saw it as an opportunity to cover more than just MLS. So we dove headfirst into covering the green, cover USL League One, USL Championship sides. But for me, I would say my labor of love is probably covering Vermont Green, just getting the work of the ownership, getting to know everyone, getting to know you guys. It's always an absolute blast when we get to go up there, and Vermont's become a second home. My sister goes to UVM, so really enjoy getting to go up to Vermont, and Vermont Green might be the biggest USL2 club in the universe. So always enjoy getting to cover them. But happy to be, on the pod and getting to talk about a interesting Vermont green side.
I think pretty soon as we get into this, we're going to talk about um, the how large Vermont Green is really is, and we can even talk about some of those little tiny teams that that proclaim themselves to be from a place that they're actually not from, down in the upside down Vermont, and we'll talk about that a little later. But let's get started here, and I want to hear from Tyson first on this. When we know in USL too, right? Like we have to expect a different set of players every single year, right? We always have some returning players, but it seems that like every single year we get more talented players, and it kind of makes for great competition in these early practices, right? It makes for great competition. And when they're releasing player names, one by one each day, throughout the beginning of the spring and the preseason, we see these names come out. People go on, they do their own YouTube research or whatever they're doing, Google research. um, they're seeing these players that they like. Sometimes you don't see those players, right? Not every player gets a run out all the time. Every single year that they're with the club, sometimes they get a second shot at a run out, right? um, Case in point, Ayub Lahar is back this year, right? um, and we'll talk about him. I have some particular things to say about him because after talking to Patrick Inferno last night, um, we kind of came to a conclusion about Ayub. So, but I really like him as a player. But when you are looking at these new players, what are you looking for, in a new player versus a returning player, who might not have that returning player might not have a spot due to one of these new players coming in?
I mean, I think that that is always a possibility. I do think that one of the best things that the Green do as an organization is, yes, we do have, the pretty short USL2 schedule where we've got to kind of go and grind with those kind of main players. We've got, your Zengays, your Owen O'Malley's, who's back for this year. There are some players who, not going to lie, they are pretty nailed on to be in there. But you have your Maple Open Cups. We've got a friendly match against Providence City. We've got the friendly that's against Jubastar. There are options for these other guys who are coming in who may be on the periphery to really go and show what they've got. I mean, and when you look at some of these players, like I'm really excited for Daniel Lang, who is coming over to us. He was in the Bayern Leverkusen Academy. Like there are players who are coming over here with some really legit European as well as um, there's that keeper that Sam was joking about, only knowing that he spoke French up from Montreal, who's coming to us from the Montreal Impact system. There is definitely a real um, high caliber player who's going to get an opportunity to come in here. And if they're able to put some performances together, um, you're going to get a run out because there is a big turnover of players from this past year. Bizzini's not here anymore, obviously. He's enjoying his time down with the Tormenta in USL1. Um, there are opportunities if these guys can go and grab them.
Now I'm gonna go over to Sam right now too, because um, like Tyson is talking about, there are opportunities. There are opportunities. Like you never know what's going to happen. We've had injuries happen. We've had guys leave early. There are guys who come in, they play one or two matches, and it's obvious from the jump that probably they might be a little too good for this league, right? Uh, and you see him regularly. Gavork Diarbin was one of those types of players, right? Um, who came in, his star shone too bright at Virtue Field, and he was whisked away to Revolution 2. Um, who are the players that you're looking forward to seeing this year? And are they returning players or are they new players? And do you expect them to stick around?
Yeah, I think, one of the more interesting ones is Owen O'Malley, just in the sense, he kind of is that star player from that debut season. And, obviously he got drafted ninth overall of the MLS Super Draft. Things didn't really work out, with St. Louis, and, got to go to Tacoma Defiance out west. Things didn't seem to work out there. It's almost like you have the hero kind of coming home a little beaten and battered. I was talking with Spencer Powell kind of just about that whole kind of unique storyline. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he does. Is he going to be that same player that he was when he first debuted for the Green? And I also think, too, just looking not only at the European kind of heritage that some of these players have, but even kind of domestically within NCAA systems, having some quality sides, whether it be out west, whether it be, what really stands out to me is, having guys, going to Clemson, some of these really prestigious University of Virginia, really prestigious college programs here. And, obviously the college landscape's kind of changed a little bit. I remember chatting with Chris Taylor and, a lot of European players with academy experience now come over to play collegiately. And now you get this opportunity, with a USL League Two side to continue to play and stay fit. And I think it's important to note that the Green has made it very clear that they want to win games, but also too they want coaches to trust them. Allowing these talented players to come over. So even if it's a very very slight knock, they're going to be very cautious. So you probably will have to manage minutes somewhere. You'll probably get an MLS trial. I know last year I think 3 or 4 players. Adam Pfeiffer told me went down to like Atlanta United for a trial. So it's almost to be expected, and that's why I think kind of looking at this roster, it looks very deep, and I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how this new roster comes together because after 3 or 4 seasons, you're now at the point where a lot of players are going to be moving on. You're going to get a very new roster. Obviously, you got Musa, you got Zenge, and you have some returning guys, Pierce O'Brien, and a guy like Owen O'Malley. But a lot of these guys, are going to be phases that weren't there for the debut, who maybe weren't there from the ground up. And Chris Taylor kind of seems to really want to build that culture, that passion for the badge. You think about a team like Seaboats United, how they're just able to, because players go up through that system, to create that passion. So I think really now it's about creating that same passion, for Vermont Green, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how, looking at the caliber of the domestic colleges these players are attending, just how they all come together and play as a unit.
I think it's really important to look at the way that Vermont Green recruits, and see that they did it in a way the past 3 seasons that a lot of teams now in the USL 2 are starting to do recruit. They're not just pulling kids out of their own academy. NEFC, they're coming in with a lot of Revs Academy kids, right? Um, and Seagulls Coast to Coast, like they're not pulling kids out of their youth ranks. Western Mass Pioneers isn't pulling kids out of their youth ranks now. They're kind of going after the bigger college players now. I mean, and I think it's in response. It's probably in response to what Vermont Green is doing. Um, the thing is that Adam Pfeiffer, being sporting director, at this point is is started to not just take in those big college players. He's looking internationally as well. So um, it seems that Vermont might always have a leg up because of the way that they started and the way they're continuing to build on it. And it's going to be up to other teams to catch up. Now, recruiting doesn't always get you the best players, and it doesn't get you the best outcome. You have to have cohesion on the field. And this is when I'm going to go over to Jack now because Jack has had the actual opportunity to go out there and watch some training and watch some practice. What did you see out there? Do you see that these new players, because it is only a couple days in, are they looking like one, super talented, and two, really locking in as a unit together.
Yeah, that's kind of what I always look for super early with these college league teams. Really doesn't matter the sport, right? The Vermont Lake Monsters who play up the road is the same style of like everyone's coming together right now out of school, and we have to mesh together within a week before our first game. Like that's the biggest thing is team chemistry because talent will get you so far. And that's why you look to the returning players, the UVM guys, Zach Zenge, the captains. Owen O'Malley this year is the big name coming back. And you look to see how those guys can recall what they were able to build upon from the previous years. And with the UVM guys, they obviously had a very prolonged regular season. There's so many of them on this roster. They just played a spring season together that really for them it's just about trying to make everybody else that's coming in feel comfortable in this town so that they can feel like they are a part of the community. And those are the kinds of things right now that will bring them together with as they build chemistry through these friendly matches, the Open Cup, the Juba Star game, and then head into the meat and potatoes of the season.
So, and feel free to jump in on any of these questions, guys, too. But um, who is like? I'll start with Tyson here. Who is the guy you're looking most forward to seeing? The new player that you're looking most forward to seeing? Because there have been some pretty largely hyped players.
I mean, it's really hard to say exactly who I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I think that um uh oh, who is it? Uh Rui Aoki.
Rui,
I,
Mhm.
I'm really excited to seeing what he can do. I mean, in terms of what the green is going to do on defense, um, we have had some amazing players at center back on our wings. You know, Nathan Messer, Owen O'Malley, uh, Nate Jones, right? Reed Fisher, Jake Ashford, the OG captain, Musa. This is a core of players that we have been very, very spoiled to have for the past couple of years. And I'm really excited to see what he can go and bring in.
Yeah, I think too. Looking at the back line, Victor Akun's a guy from University of Virginia, Vancouver Whitecaps Academy. It's going to be interesting to see who can kind of step into that Nate Jones, Reed Fisher role because I do think Vermont's known. I would probably say for its goal scoring ability, but I think if they're able to really improve on the back line, whether it be as a defensive unit or just what you have in between the sticks, I think that will be, the next level. If that team's looking to win a championship, looking to win the division, I think that's going to be crucial. And, another guy, like you were mentioning, Drew Welling, Michelle, it's going to be interesting to see just how that goalkeeper battle, if you will, kind of plays out. Obviously, you got Mr. Vermont, getting the number one, Nicholas Herzeg, and, you got the number one. You're assuming he's going to be the starter. But obviously, you can see whether it be guys getting picked up or injuries. I think it's important to have a solid back line. So those are probably the two or three players that I'm looking for at the most. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see who kind of fills up in that back line. I just want to give a quick shout out to Reed Fisher, who might be the first player to get a red card in a shootout for trying to trip a goalkeeper.
I'll tell you what, any team that doesn't have Nicholas Herchag on their roster and doesn't start him in goal has no business creating a starting 11 for a pitch. The matter of fact is that Nicholas Herchag is the hottest goalie in the country right now. He has already played in the highest of high pressure situations that this level of soccer has to offer him. He, as a true freshman, outperformed teams with national championship experience, played the entire College Cup run for UVM, allowing one goal before getting to the College Cup. There is no reason why any team should be starting anybody other than Nicholas Hercheg. They are very high on the kid up from Montreal. He came in late to practice on Tuesday, but was starting to get into drills and they say this guy's an ox. He is just absolutely has the ability to stand up with the strongest goalies in this league because of just how physically gifted he is and how he's going to be able to explode and his fast twitch ability. They are really high on this guy. And I think it's going to be a good workout for Hercheg to kind of measure himself up to somebody who's gone through the professional ranks up in Montreal and just see where he stacks up against that kind of competition.
I'm myself. Listen, these two goalkeepers, we've done the goalkeeper by committee thing before, and by the end of the season, you kind of settle into the who your goalkeeper is going to be. I think that both of these goalkeepers are big names. They're big names. They're both very, very, very large men. Um, and I'm excited to see which one is which one is gonna come out of the fight. For GK1, because like you said, um, Herchag is still he's still very young. He's still very raw. He played his freshman year. He was amazing. We know about sophomore slumps. Things can happen. We have another goalkeeper who uh, is professionally tested, right? He's had that experience out there, and so whichever one comes out as the Jelly Green Giant is going to come out as the Jelly Green Giant, and I think we'll be better off for it. Um,
Well, I will
that
tell you
said,
what, on that note, Mike, is that UVM, the soccer team, is taking a trip to Germany in the midsummer. So at some point, like both will get playing time, but at some point, um, the kid from Montreal is going to come in and take some minutes, I'd assume, down the stretch.
and I think it's important to have depth.
Oh yeah,
Like we talked about, like there are few games, but they come like fast pace, right? Guys can't play 90 minutes a match 3 times a week. It just can't happen with these young kids. They can't risk injury. Um, so we met a couple last night at the kickoff party. A couple of new players. Rui was one that kind of stood out. Big smile, very very happy to be here. And very happy to be part of the family. He kind of stood out to me. Obviously, Zach Zenge was there. Zach Zenge with his in his third season with the club. He actually sat down with me and asked me about my family. Asked about how things have been going since he left Vermont and went back to college. Right. Um, he this is a young man who really presents the character and has the character that they really want on this team. Um, he he has grown through the years, not just as a player, but as a human being, and it really shows. You don't really get a lot of 20-year-old kids like coming up to an almost 50-year-old man asking about their family, asking about their kids, how's the life going in Vermont? How have things been since I left a few months ago? Like, and he was genuinely interested in what was going on in my life, which he doesn't have to be, right? A lot of these kids come in and they're nervous. They don't know what's going on, and what to expect. And it's really, really cool that they have someone who's not just a leader on the field, but a character leader too. And can kind of show these kids the way. Zach has been one of my favorite players since he joined the club a couple years ago. Um, the other one that really struck me, one because he's devastatingly handsome, like alarmingly handsome, was Eskil Hierde, and um, I couldn't even speak to him. He stared right through me. He stared right through me. Yeah, he's devastatingly handsome. So I was kind of just making this joke to Patrick, and so we kind of were talking about it, and I told him, how he knows how I love a really good midfielder, a good creative midfielder. Um, somebody who can play at a number 6 or a number 10. Um, it can really play any position on the midfield, in the midfield, and he's one of those players like I kind of I wanted to liken him to like a Sam Layton, right, from last year. And he's and at times Sam Layton was frustrating for some of us, but when he got going, he was lots of times the best player on the field. Um, so I was talking about like some of the things that frustrated me about Sam, and Patrick was like, "You have to see this kid on the field." He said he is Sam Layton, but a lot of the things that frustrated you about Sam Layton are the things that he does really, really well. So he said he's very much a comparable player to Sam, but he does those things that frustrated us about Sam better than Sam did. So that's a big deal, because when in any kind of a system where that relies on playing out wide, you have to have midfielders that can occupy that space so that space doesn't get open and you get countered on really quickly up the middle. And 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 this system that Coach Taylor is building is going to rely on those wing backs, is going to rely on wide play. So you have to have a very, very solid midfield. And um in you know in the recruiting and having these center backs that they're bringing in, it's going to allow Musa to probably move up into a defensive midfielder position, and then you're going to need creative players in the midfield. You have Zach, you'll have Eskil, um, to fill those spaces, and then you're going to have guys like Ayub Lahar, who I think the club sees having been played at the wrong position in college.
Mm.
Um, and I think Ayub recognizes that, and he announced himself last night as a fullback. Um, yeah, and not an attacking player. So
Well,
that's a
you
big
want to
deal.
talk about fullbacks not being attacking players. I feel like,
Well,
I
not
was going to
I
say,
should have said fullback, not a forward.
okay, because I was going to say that's kind of been a focal point of Vermont Green's whole kind of attacking idea from the very get-go. We've been,
Benny
you know,
Prego being one of them. Yeah.
Manny Prego, Nathan Messer, Owen O'Malley, like
Yep.
you can go down that list. And, if you have someone who has, kind of the physical gifts that we've been able to see of Ayub Lahar, like going and tearing up the wing, like I am here for that.
Yeah, he's large. He's large, not necessarily height large, but he's muscular, he's strong, he's fast. And I think if he's going to get a few runouts this year, and I think if he's played in the proper position, he's going to be super, super important to this club moving forward. Um, are there any other players that you guys are really looking forward to seeing this year, outside of like the ones we talk about, the Victor Akums, the keepers?
I'll
I,
to get specific, because you guys were talking about uh, the kid that you were the Abu Lahar, right, from UConn, um, and having him get on some long runs for the Green this year. Who's going to be the center back that hits that ball to him? Right, who are going to be the guys on the back line? And I'm looking at the top of the roster, and I'm like, where does Brandon Marshall kind of show us that where he can step up into that Zach Barrett esque role, or Amani Thomas? Guys will always tell you, hey, like we lose a Zach Barrett, we lose a Yanni Fazzini, and Ashford. We're not exactly trying to take the next guy to take their place to be just like them, right? We're trying to get the best strengths out of what they can do. So we shouldn't go in there and expect that somebody's going to have a rainbow as beautiful as Barrett, from that position to blast to these midfielders. But you know, who can we rely on defensively, or what Green fans are thinking to start the offense in a fast break situation.
I think Amani Thomas is going to be one of those players that we talk about that might be a short-term player for this club. He's super talented. He's destined for really really big things, but you never know. The competition might show that is right for this league. So
Yeah, and I think to, hit on another new player. I think Bruno Rosa from Portuguese player from the Friars. I think he's coming off a wicked good season for them. Going to be interesting to see how he does. But I think kind of getting back to Zach Zing there, I do think it is an important season for him. He's a guy who was drafted, I believe, by the Columbus Crew. And I think, as he continues to progress, get older, mature, whether it be on or off the field, I think what you want to really look for him in this season is really to, take the game by the hold, take it by the scruff, and really be able to be that impactful player to show that he is, kind of a step above. And, I think if he is able to kind of continue to progress and maybe take that next step, maybe that's a chance when, Columbus Crew will say, hey, we want to get you to our second team, or, maybe even more. But I think, it's going to be very interesting to see a guy like him who already, has those MLS rights and kind of has a step into MLS if he can kind of reach that potential. Just what he does in a season like this, where he's not only going to be, expected to be a leader, kind of help people get acclimated to Burlington, and just overall get them acclimated to what it means to wear the Vermont Green jersey. But I think he should be expected upon to be an impactful player, to be that guy who can kind of work well in the midfield, connect the back line, to the attack, and really get the attack going. And I think if he can do that, the potential is there for him to kind of take that next step in his career. So definitely interested to see again another kind of returning player, if they can take that next step and really take that next step in their development.
And, speaking of those next steps and being kind of pushed to the next level, it is, I think, really interesting that this year there are, I think, two or three players who are coming to us from the uh, Vancouver Whitecaps Academy. We've also got that other goalkeeper who's coming to us from the Montreal Impact Academy. I think, and of course, Owen O'Malley, who's kind of been through a couple MLS Next teams. There are some players who are coming to this team who have been in really professional environments. Not to say that, Vermont Green's not a professional environment. Like that's very much, in our conversation with uh, Chris Taylor, um, the way that the Green always kind of position themselves is that at this level, at the USL2 level, Vermont Green is going to be the closest to a professional team that you will find in this league. That's how they run it. That's how they've designed it. That's the and they bring in the kind of players who want to be a part of that. So having all of these other players who are coming onto this team with that kind of background, I think that that is going to honestly, I think it's going to do some great things for all of the guys who are here this year. I'm very excited for that.
now, with some turnover, in the coaching ranks here at Vermont Green, do you guys expect to see anything different? Like, do you feel that Coach Taylor is going to just kind of take what Pfeiffer and we have? I guess Chris gave us the kind of the rosy kind of watered down version of what he might do with the club going forward, and more trying to build on what Pfeiffer built. But obviously, every coach has their own type of system. Do you expect Taylor to try and run that same system and build upon it, or do you expect that maybe if it doesn't work, he blows it up and tries something different?
Well, I would throw that question over to our good friend Jack Main, who has been at a practice. Jack, have you had some time to talk to Coach Taylor about what he plans to do in terms of coaching style?
I have, and he just said it plain and simple. He doesn't want to spill the hand, of like what the strategy is right now. But he's thinking to himself. He's like, Adam had this thing built up so well, and Adam did everything with the idea of the growth of the club in mind. And now he's in a situation where he can go out and Adam can simply just focus on building a roster and getting the players that he wants to be able to create his soccer dream, right? And in Chris Taylor, he had his right hand man from the very beginning. Chris has essentially been running the team practices from a drill standpoint for the last 2 seasons, and really took a step forward last year. And that's how Adam knew. He was like, it's like, this is it, man. Like, this is the guy that needs to be doing this. I need to be up in the front office. And so I don't expect very much change from a strategy standpoint, because it's kind of been, for the most part, it's been Chris Taylor's operation, just as far as the conditioning and things go. But and Adam's kind of just been overseeing it. But now it's going to be, how does he handle the being the head man on the sideline on game day? That's really all I care about, because of the environment at practice is very much the same demeanor. Adam still walks around. Chris still blows his whistles and does the drills. For me, it's, can he handle, what's the emotion going to be like on the sideline for him in front of a packed stadium? Because from his standpoint right now, his most recent experience doing that is at SUNY Plattsburgh, which, credit to a great program in the North Country, is a step down from the Vermont Green. So we'll see what that's like when he's got, all the eyes on him.
Yeah, and actually, that's kind of a question. I spoke to Kirsch probably about a month ago. I've yet to write up the interview, so I should probably do that a bit soon. But he did kind of mention that again, a lot of it's probably going to be the same, but he did kind of mention this desire to play a bit of a higher tempo, whether that be pressing, whether that be just overall moving the ball at a higher pace. So I think maybe you'll try to see a team that's controlling the game and kind of forcing opponents to make mistake and just moving the ball quicker. But I think in general, like Jack said, it's largely going to be what you're used to. Maybe with just a tweak here and there, because again, Chris is essentially kind of been the man behind the scenes, if you will, kind of running things, and he's had his hand on trainings and what have you. So I think now that he is the main guy, it's about maybe making those one or two adjustments to an already kind of impressive system. So if anything, I think maybe you start see the guys playing with a higher kind of tempo or intensity, but I wouldn't expect like grand changes. When you watch Vermont play.
So we are getting questions from our live stream, which is kind of a new thing for us. The question was from randomy, and the question was, is Vermont green? And I'm going to swing this over to Tyson because he kind of did answer it in the chat, but we can chat about this a little bit, because I mean it is an important part of the club, and any new listeners who may not know about the club, and want to get in on kind of on the ground floor, and understand what the club is about. This is kind of an important message. So Tyson, just talk a little bit about the mission of the club.
Yeah, so to kind of put this into perspective, Randomy, who went and sent us this question, asked, how would we feel if Vermont Green and Inter New Hampshire is a team that is, I believe, playing in the NPSL over near Manchester, New Hampshire, move up into USL League One in 2028? Which is, I think, around the same time that the USL is proposing the implementation of promotion and relegation. Um, and I this has been kind of discussed amongst the Green Mountain Boys. It's the topic of a lot of Reddit posts about questions about Vermont Green moving up to a professional status. And I think that there are many, many people who would very much be behind that, who would really look forward to that. But, kind of one of the key tenets of the existence of Vermont Green is the fact that they are focused on environmental justice, social responsibility, and being a net zero carbon emission club. That's like one of the main core tenets of the team. I mean, they print out every single year a environmental mission report that goes in details and lists. You can find it on their website. It's on their Instagram. It's on all of their social media. You can go and check it out. It's an amazing read. But th- one of the key things is they are trying to be as environmentally conscious as they possibly can. I think that it would require a lot of investment in the team and kind of what they do from the ground up to try and reach that net zero carbon footprint um, status that they really want to get to. And if you're flying across the country to play against Spokane Velocity over in, you know, all the way out west, or AV Alta Vista, or wherever else, um, in USL1, I think that you know, really just kind of flies in the face of what Vermont Green is really trying to do. And I think that that might really disappoint some people, but I think that what the Green kind of are setting out to do is still very important, whether they stay in USL2, if they move up to USL1. You know, they're going to keep on doing what they're doing regardless of where they are. But I think that these guys are really going to be sticking to their guns about what they want to do with this club.
Yeah, there is there. It's not just the mission of the club that is a roadblock to USL1. There's other roadblocks. There are infrastructure roadblocks. There's uh pay or play roadblocks. So like there's a lot of financial roadblocks, in that kind of stuff as well. So we have to think about that. And the pro rel thing. Um, I was on a podcast last week, the Blazing Musket podcast, and we talked about the pro rel. We talked about it on my other podcast, Wicked Spursy, too, where that can it happen in this country? And I know it's probably a discussion for another time, and it probably can happen. And I think we all came to the conclusion on the podcast that it can happen, but it's not going to happen in 2028, not for Vermont Green at least. Moving up, 2028 is even probably wishful thinking for for the USL as a league. Um, just so many things that they have to think about and come up with, as far as what it takes, to move up, and what's going to happen. Make sure they have to have teams that they know are not going to just disappear if they get relegated. Like there's a lot of stuff. And it doesn't just come down to the financial stuff or infrastructure stuff. There's a lot that goes into this, and they may have been thinking about it for a long time, but implementing it is a whole different story.
Yeah, and even for a USL Championship club, we were able to break today that Hartford Athletic has been asked to apply for the D1 league, and they're considering it. And even for a championship USL Championship side, it would take a large investment in their stadium to add to the capacity and to be able to meet the requirements of a D1 league. Thinking of a club like Vermont Green, it would take a significant investment. And let's just enter the realm where they do that. They're somehow able to do that. They're somehow able to have it aligned with being net zero, which would be very difficult. Um, so I think even if we're going to grant all that to happen, God forbid Vermont just goes on an absolute tear and ends up getting promoted. How are they going to be able to afford that? And then the whole thing with promotion relegation is just kind of being able to afford having a good season, but also having a bad season and getting relegated. For a team like Vermont Green, the maybe getting relegated to USL League One wouldn't be as financial hit, but I imagine they would definitely still feel it. So you have to think about all those factors. I would love to see Vermont get the professional ranks, but I think it will be quite some time if it happens before it does.
I'll put your minds at ease for anybody that's wondering about going to advancing up in league here for Vermont Green. The owners are very much committed to winning at this level. They are in the hardest division in this league, and they have yet to win it. And they have yet to go on a serious tournament run. They are more committed to winning this division that they're in, defeating Seacoast and the teams that stand in their path. And they're committed to, if once they do that, making sure that they can be invited to things like the U.S. Open Cup on a regular basis to promote the team right now. The other thing that's in the back of their heads is putting up a women's team before they go to USL League One. So the ownership group very much wants to win at this level, at the highest level, as consistently as possible. The rest will fall into place if they can do that. But I'll tell you what, like I've never seen Pat so fired up about winning games. Adam has always lived and died by the wins and losses, and I saw that firsthand when we were watching the national championship together in North Carolina. But it's about for this year, it's about how many games they can win, and against the teams that have beaten them in the past that have been their roadblocks. They need to win at this level. Period.
Well, I think we're coming up on time here, boys. It's been a conversation, and I think that we could sit here and do this for hours. All of us, we all have our passion for this club, and I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. We're going to be coming back. Hopefully, I'm hoping Tuesday, possibly Thursday, depending on availability for folks, but. Um, I'm just going to mention straight off the top. We are United in Green podcast, and we are affiliated with the Blazing Musket. Um, they support us, and they get our message out there. The Blazing Musket is a New England soccer website. Sam alluded to all that stuff earlier. There is a paid tier, so if you can handle the paid tier, there's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great content on that. And you can get more than your fill of great writers, great content about all of the different teams in New England. Um, Whether you support, your New England Revolution in the MLS, or all the way down to Little Vermont Green. We will say that Vermont Green is the biggest club in New England. So, uh, despite Rhode Island FC's, you know, uh, their attendance numbers, but we have a limited attendance, so we can't get that high yet. But um, so yeah, go out and support Blazing Musket. I'm going to give each of you some time to do a little sign off, give us your final thoughts, um, and maybe give us a little insight as to what you think is going to happen on Sunday with our opener. And I'm going to start with Jack.
Oh man. My biggest the thing I'm forecasting ahead to the most is just being back at Virtue Field. Um, I being present for the national championship really struck to my core just how deep and how strong the Vermont soccer community is. Having grown up here, it was there was never the thought of the possibility that there was soccer like running through the deep veins of Vermont, and here we are and celebrating a national championship and at a college level and having this semi-pro team just continue to make national headlines and the USA soccer world. So what I'm really most looking forward to is just seeing this soccer community fucking explode to a packed Virtue Fields high off of a national championship, and just being a part of that environment. Just as a Vermonter, not as a reporter, not as a fan, just as a Vermonter, seeing a group coming together like that. I know that's not exactly a looking ahead to see what's going to happen this Sunday against Boston City, but this should not be there should not be a problem against Boston City, and we'll see how the chemistry is. It's really what I'm just looking forward to as far as on field play.
Jack, where can people find you?
People can find me. I'm anchoring the NBC5 newscast 5 nights a week on NBC5 at 11 p.m. Typically, I cover a lot of high school stuff. That's where we're at right now. As the Vermont Green get deeper into the summer, we will be at every single home game, no matter what. for the most part, and we're just fingers crossed for a dry and not so muggy summer because it's either raining or it's humid, and I'm inhaling the lake every time I take a breath.
All right, I'm going to move it down to Sam.
Well, first off, again, great to be chatting, Vermont Green with you guys. I'm just most looking forward to be back on Very True. It's a great atmosphere. And whether it just be, standing kind of, on the field, hearing the Green Mountain Boys chant, or just, being able to talk with, coaching staff, ownership, just really excited for that. And really excited for maybe a little bit of a revenge tour, if you will. I think, there's definitely a chip on Vermont's shoulders. You're coming off, the NCAA championship. If you would be able to go back to back, if you will, with, winning the USL League Two championship, that would be a great story. In terms of Boston City, I mean, hey, they lost 9-0 to Western Mass Pioneers. I'm expecting a double digits for Vermont. I'm going to put it out there right now. So really excited. Boston City, guys, a club that was rumored to be going up to USL League One. Just remind you of that. So really excited, to see what they're able to do on Sunday. Can't wait to chat more. But yeah, really appreciate you guys having me on. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Jack because obviously we live in Massachusetts. I cannot go to every home game. So they're one of the few peoples out there, like a lot of the time. So make sure to go support them. But if you can't support the Lazy Musket, even if it's just sharing a story, we really do appreciate it. So thank you.
I like how Sam's like, they're gonna win. It's just a matter of
Oh,
if it's
they're
double
gonna win.
digits or not.
If they lose, the sky has fallen. We've entered another plane of existence.
He's like, it is go time, and they are not messing around, man.
That's right.
11-0. Book it.
All right, returning champion, the man with the belt.
You know what I am looking forward to? This year, we get to play those fuckers from New Hampshire twice. 2 times. We only played them once last year. And if you will recall, I was furious the entire goddamn season because we only played them once. We played Western Mass twice. And like,
They only played each other once.
and they only played each other once. Yes, that's what it was, a scheduling disaster. And I was so pissed the entire summer. But this year we play Western Mass twice. We play Sea Goats twice. We play this new, apparently fully locked and loaded new New England Revs Academy team, NEFC. We play them once. Like this, if you are a newcomer to Vermont Green, the USL2 Northeast Division is stacked. It is the top 4 teams are some of the best in the nation. It is going to be a brutal playoff qualification. I know that the owners, Chris Taylor and Adam Pfeiffer, are all guns blazing for this season. The Green Mountain Boys are going to be blazing for this season. It is going to be a smoke show the entire season. I'm very excited.
Excellent. And I'm just going to sign off saying that I'm excited. I'm excited about this season because I get to go out there. I get to get on my megaphone. I get to yell and scream. And I've said it before. If I don't lose my voice at the end of every single game, then I'm not doing my job out there. I'm not engaging the fans the way I should be. I think that anybody who's listening, go tell a friend. You know, go tell 2 friends. Tell them to tell 2 friends. Get the place sold out before game day, before match day. Let's get out there. Let's be loud. Let's fill the hill. Let's do all of it. And I just want to set expectations high because this is the year that we're going to win the division and then we're going to go win the fucking league. This is the team to do it. And I think that Chris Taylor is going to have this team locked and loaded, ready to go. And like Sam said, it's revenge tour time. We're pissed off. We're pissed off, and our home openers against Seaboats. So we're gonna be there early. We're gonna be set up. Come find us, the Green Mountain Boys. We're gonna be set up in the parking lot where we normally set up at the opening, at the top opening to the Gutterson Arena garage, and come find us. We're gonna be partying out there. There's gonna be music. We're gonna be laughing. We're gonna be drinking. We're gonna be having a good time,
We'll be
and
playing Stump.
playing Stump. Yeah, exactly. You know what? And we just get there. We have a good time. We have some food, and bring your family, and just have a great time watching some great soccer. You know, and we're gonna go get it this year. So, with all of that, I just want to say thank you very much to all of you guys. Again, we'll be back hopefully. Hopefully, I think we're thinking probably Tuesday. So we'll be back to talk about Sunday's game. We're going to finally start breaking down some matches. Uh, we're going to talk about the players that we talked about today, and maybe some others that we weren't expecting. We won't know until those lineup cards come out. But again, thank you to Jack, Sam, Tyson. We'll see you guys next time, and until then, up the green.
Up the green.
Up the green.